When I got sick and was hospitalized for weeks, my neighbor broke into my house and claimed I had abandoned it. My cousin helped her host garage sales with my belongings, telling everyone, she's never coming back. I showed up 3 days early, walked onto my own porch, and stared them down mid-sale. Watching their faces twist in panic and the police haul them away was the justice I waited months to see. I'm Megan Harlow, 39, mechanic, and lifelong resident of Cedar Falls, Iowa. I don't do social media much, and I never thought I'd be the type to post in a revenge thread. But sometimes, life drops you into a situation so insane, you either tell the story or go crazy thinking about it. Here's what happened. In early February last year, I got sick. Really sick. At first, it seemed like a nasty cold. I figured I'd sweat it out at home and be back at work in a few days. But by the third night, I couldn't keep down water. Breathing was hard. When I finally called 911, I passed out on the floor before the ambulance even arrived. Turned out it was sepsis from a bacterial infection I didn't even know I had. My organs were starting to shut down. I was in the ICU for almost 3 weeks. The details from that time are a blur. I remember the beeping machines, nurses' faces, and sometimes waking up with no idea what day it was. My phone battery died early on, and I wasn't strong enough to ask someone to charge it for me. In those hazy days, I thought about my house. My cat. My tools. My mom's quilt. All the little things that made my life mine. But I also thought, it's okay. Tara will check in. Brenda will too. Tara is my cousin. We were close growing up, though she'd gotten flaky over the years. Always borrowing money. Always with a new job or boyfriend that just didn't work out. But family is family. Brenda was my across-the-street neighbor. A widow, about 55, always seemed kind. She'd even watched my cat once when I had to leave town suddenly. We'd chat sometimes while I worked on my truck or mowed the lawn. I figured they'd keep an eye out until I got home. That was my first mistake. By late March, I was stable. Weak, but stable. The doctors said I'd need physical therapy before going home, but I was healing faster than expected. I texted Tara once from the hospital's loaner phone. No reply. I tried again a few days later. Still nothing. Brenda, of course, wasn't someone I could text. But it never crossed my mind that she'd need to be told anything. My utilities were still active. My mailbox wasn't overflowing. No reason for anyone to think I was gone permanently. A nurse named Rita became my friend during those long weeks. She noticed how anxious I was about the house. One afternoon, she said, "If you're worried, Megan, I can call a locksmith for when you get back. Just in case." At the time, I thought she meant in case the locks were rusty or sticky. In reality, Rita saved me from walking into a disaster blind. My official discharge date was set for a Sunday. But by a stroke of luck, or fate, they released me 3 days early. Thursday morning, my friend Daniel, who runs the auto shop next to mine, came to pick me up. I was so excited to go home I barely slept the night before. As we drove into my neighborhood, I remember saying, "Man, I can't wait to just sit on my own porch again." But as soon as we turned onto Sycamore Drive, Daniel hit the brakes so hard I nearly slammed into the dash. There were cars everywhere. Parked up and down the street. People milling around my front yard. At first, I thought someone was throwing a block party or something. But then I saw the tables. Long, folding tables covered in stuff. Tools. Clothes. Kitchenware. Even what looked like my old stereo. Then the sign hit me like a gut punch, "Estate sale, everything must go." Daniel stared. Megan? That's your place." I didn't answer. My mouth was too dry. I spotted my mom's quilt draped over a chair next to a box labeled free. That's when the cold sank in. That was my stuff. All of it. I got out of the car on legs that felt like rubber. People were wandering around the yard and driveway, chatting like it was just another sunny spring day. A woman held my grandmother's mixing bowls. A kid was playing with one of my cat's toys. Then I saw Brenda, standing behind one of the tables, laughing with a man flipping through my old vinyl records. And right next to her was Tara, wearing my work jacket. The one I'd kept since my apprenticeship. They hadn't seen me yet. I walked up the driveway. Slow. Every step felt heavier than the last. Someone noticed me first, a teenage girl with pink hair. She nudged her mom and whispered, "Isn't that?" The mom's eyes widened. Brenda finally looked up. At first, she smiled like she was greeting a customer. Then she froze. Tara turned. She went pale. White as a sheet. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. My voice was cold and sharp when I said, "Get off my property." People around us stopped browsing. The chatter died instantly. Brenda stammered, "Oh. Megan. We thought you weren't answering." Tara jumped in, fake tears already welling up. "We thought you weren't coming back. We thought you might have passed, and we didn't want the house to get condemned or robbed." "Really?" I said. "So your first thought was to break in and sell everything I own?" Brenda tried to put a hand on my arm. "We were trying to help." I jerked away. "Don't touch me." I pointed at the crowd. "All of you, this is my home. This sale is over. Leave. Now." People started backing off. Some dropped the items they were holding. A few apologized under their breath as they walked away. One older man holding my mom's quilt hesitated. I nodded stiffly. "Just set it down." He did. Brenda's friendly mask cracked. "Megan, don't overreact. You were gone for almost 2 months. You thought you could steal from me and no one would stop you." Tara stepped toward the cash box. I stepped in front of her. "You even told people I wasn't coming back, didn't you?" Her lip quivered. I needed money." I pulled out my phone. "You'll have plenty of time to think about that in jail." I didn't dial 911. I called the sheriff's direct line. Rita had told me who to call if I ever felt unsafe. I spoke clearly. "This is Megan Harlow. My neighbor and cousin are holding an unauthorized estate sale on my property. They've sold my belongings. I'm pressing charges for burglary and theft." Brenda bolted toward the street. But 2 of my neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Kellerman, stepped in her way. "You're not going anywhere, Brenda," Mr. Kellerman said. "We wondered where all that stuff was coming from." Tara lunged for the cash box. Daniel grabbed it first. "Nope. That's evidence now." 15 minutes later, the sheriff's deputies arrived. They didn't waste time. They separated everyone, took statements, and photographed the scene. Brenda tried spinning a sob story about trying to protect the property. The deputy wasn't buying it. "Utilities are active. Mail's been collected. No signs of abandonment. You had no legal right to enter." Tara finally broke down, crying so hard she could barely breathe. They cuffed them both. I watched in silence as they were led to the squad cars. No shouting. No cursing. Just a deep, solid relief in my chest. Months in that hospital bed, dreaming about the day I'd get justice. Now I was standing on my own 2 feet, watching it happen. And I wasn't done yet. The sheriff's deputies loaded Brenda and Tara into separate cars. I stood there, arms crossed, silent as the crowd started to scatter. People whispered. Some looked ashamed, some just curious. Daniel stood beside me. "You okay?" I nodded. "For now." The deputies came back over. "Ms. Harlow, do you want to press full charges?" "Yes." I didn't hesitate. burglary, theft, trespassing. Anything else that applies. Good. We'll collect statements and secure the property. You'll need to come down to the station tomorrow. As they drove off with Brenda and Tara, I finally exhaled. But I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. That night, Daniel stayed with me while I started sorting through what was left. My house was a wreck. Cabinets emptied. Photo albums gone. Tools missing. My cat's toys and bed were outside like trash. And then came the gut punch. My mom's jewelry box, I said, searching the bedroom. It's gone. Daniel cursed under his breath. Those greedy, I sank down on the bed. They must have sold it already. The jewelry was the most valuable thing I owned. Not just in dollars, but in memory. My mom's wedding ring. The silver locket from my grandmother. Gone. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder. We'll get it back. Even if we have to track down every person who bought something today. The next morning, I went to the sheriff's office. Deputy Reynolds, who'd been at the scene, met me. We've got a list of everyone who bought items. Brenda and Tara kept detailed records. Guess they wanted to make sure they split the cash fairly. The audacity of that almost made me laugh. Also, Reynolds added, we found out how they got in. Brenda had a spare key from the time she watched her cat. Tara knew where your mom used to hide the backdoor key. They planned this weeks ago. Weeks. While I was lying in a hospital bed, they were already scheming. And the jewelry? I asked. Reynolds frowned. It gets worse. Some of it was pawned in Waterloo. We're recovering what we can, but some of it was probably gone for good. By the next week, the town knew what had happened. Small towns talk fast. Brenda's so-called friends dropped her. Tara's boyfriend kicked her out. Word spread that they'd lied, stolen, and tried to profit off my supposed death. But that wasn't the twist that really got me. At the pawnshop in Waterloo, when the deputies asked for the transaction records, another name popped up on the receipt, Nancy Harlow. My aunt. Tara's mom. Turns out, Aunt Nancy had been working with them. She was the one who drove Tara to pawn the jewelry. She told the shop owner I'd left the family and they were liquidating the estate. I felt my stomach flip. 3 of them. My cousin, my neighbor, and now my aunt. They hadn't just stolen. They'd conspired. I told Reynolds everything I knew about Nancy. The deputies opened a third case. By the time the dust settled, Brenda, Tara, and Nancy were all facing multiple felony charges. But it wasn't just about jail time for me anymore. It was about making sure they never touched a dime from what they stole. I hired a lawyer. Filed a civil suit. Not just for theft, but conversion of property, fraud, and emotional distress. My lawyer, Mr. Crowley, was ruthless. We'll freeze their bank accounts. Any money they made, any assets they bought with it, it's coming back to you. And he wasn't bluffing. The legal battle stretched into months. Brenda tried to offer a settlement. Tara sent tearful letters from jail. Aunt Nancy tried to claim she was tricked. I refused all of it. I gave them trust, I told my lawyer. They gave me betrayal. Crowley nodded. Then we'll burn their bridges and salt the earth. As the court dates approached, more twists came out. Brenda had a history. She'd done something similar years ago, managing an elderly neighbor's estate sale after convincing the woman she was dying. Charges were dropped back then for lack of evidence. Tara had drained an ex-boyfriend's bank account once, though he never pressed charges. And Nancy? She'd filed bankruptcy twice, blaming family emergencies. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. And now they'd all crossed the wrong person. The criminal trials came first. Brenda's lawyer tried every excuse in the book. Claimed she thought I had passed away. That she was helping to settle my property. The judge didn't buy a word of it. Tara tried pleading guilty for a lighter sentence. Claimed she was manipulated by Brenda and her own mother, Nancy. Nancy, ever the schemer, tried to blame both Brenda and Tara, pretending she only got involved because she was misled. But the paper trail was ironclad. Receipts. Pawnshop records. Texts between the three of them, where they literally said things like, "She's never coming back. We can clear out most of it before anyone notices. This is our chance." It was all there. The jury took less than a day to decide. Brenda, guilty on all counts. Tara, guilty, though the judge showed slight leniency due to her guilty plea. Nancy, guilty, and the judge noted she was the architect of this conspiracy. Sentencing day. I sat in the front row. Daniel was beside me. Deputy Reynolds was in the back. Even Rita, my nurse from the hospital, came. Brenda got 8 years. Nancy got 10 years, the harshest sentence because of her planning role and prior bankruptcies tied to fraud. Tara got 4 years, plus restitution. But it wasn't just the jail time that mattered. The civil suit wrapped up right after. Crowley had done his work. Their bank accounts were frozen. Brenda's house, mortgaged to the hilt, was seized and auctioned. Nancy's old car and what little jewelry she hadn't pawned were sold off too. Even Tara's junk car and whatever small savings she had were pulled into the settlement. In the end, I didn't just get back what they owed me. I got everything they had tried to build from my stolen belongings. The money covered my legal fees. What little was left, I used to replace what they'd sold off. And for what couldn't be replaced, my mom's ring, some family heirlooms, the loss stayed with me. But so did the fact that justice had been served. 3 months after the final court date, I stood on my repaired front porch. The yard was clean. My tools were back in order. My cat slept peacefully on the steps beside me. Mrs. Kellerman from down the street stopped by with fresh bread. "I can't believe what you went through, Megan. You're stronger than most." I smiled. Not because I felt strong, but because I had survived. And the ones who thought they could profit off my absence? They were gone. Behind bars. Where they belonged.